Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we are looking at some crazy Tyranid Hive Tyrant builds that I could come up with. This video is going to be different than our Tyranid Hive Tyrant deep dive we have done in the past, so if you're looking for that, go to right here and that'll give you some true, background and competitive knowledge on using the Hive Tyrant. This one, we're going to look at it a little bit differently, and I'll get into that in a later section. Without further ado, if you're excited for these Tyranid Hive Tyrants, please like the video, and if you want to see more content from us here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios, please subscribe, leave a comment to some other deep dives or tactics videos you would like us to cover. With that being said, let's dive into this video. Before we get started, we got a couple things. One, if you haven't been able to tell by my voice, I am a little sick. It's nothing too crazy, but I might make some cuts here and there, and you might notice that, why did the sound stop? Well, it's because I was coughing up my lungs or whatever. Show must go on, and I've had this video ready, wanted to do anyway. So, some background on the video of what we're gonna do. This is coming from something that a local club of mine does. They call them 1,000-point Friday night fight nights. Friday night fight. It's tricky to say, but fight nights, 1,000 points. What it is 2 1,000-point games followed by a Warlord free-for-all battle. And it changes every little bit of time what it is, but essentially you got the table, everybody who's there slaps their Warlord down, and you just kind of go at it and see who can get the most Warlord kills, or whatever the case may be. Or who's last man standing. I think they give points for either way. So, if you want to do well in this scenario, you need a Warlord that is both survivable and killy, and almost like a character hunter themselves. Because in the 1,000-point games, you will earn points for keeping your Warlord alive and killing your opponent's Warlord, and you might get a point for your Warlord killing the opponent's Warlord. Again, the rules slightly vary every time. It's more of a for funsy things, but that it inspired me to make this video. So what we're going to be doing in this video is I've decided I want to create the most powerful Hive Tyrant that I can come up with. It needs to be durable, so it can survive throughout the 1,000-point game, and it needs to be potent. It needs to be able to locate that Warlord, so obviously wings are going to be on all of these, and it's going to need to deal significant damage and consistent damage when it comes to targeting that Warlord. A few other things with this is that I built 6 Hive Tyrants here. They all have wings. Some of them have a little bit of flexibility. They aren't from all 6 Hive fleets. Technically, they're from 5 different Hive fleets. None of them from Jormungandr, and 2 from Behemoth. Sorry, Jormungandr fans. I looked, and there was nothing unique about Jormungandr Warlord traits and relics and psychic powers that made them worth building a custom Hive Tyrant for. You could take some of these current Hive Tyrant builds that I have here and apply them to your Jormungandr army. They might not just be as potent as it is. And as I said, I did include Warlord traits, which means we are dumping our adaptive physiology and a Warlord trait into this one model. Which is why at the beginning of the video I said this might not be competitively for 2,000-point tournament lists the best option, because you give up an adaptive physiology, but for some fun, just to see how powerful we can make a Hive Tyrant, that's what we're doing in this video. So without further ado, let's jump into the first of our Hive Tyrants. So Hive Tyrant number 1, the Leviathan Slayer Sabers Hive Tyrant. What you need to pull this one off is you need a Hive Tyrant, wings again obviously on all of these, with bone swords, and you can choose whatever ranged weapon you want to put in there. Doesn't really matter for the end goal. You give them the Relic Slayer Sabers, obviously. You give them Murderous Size, so +1 damage, strength, and AP, and those can stack on the relics. So now those sabers are AP -3, not 2, and their damage 4, and they're at strength 7. Great. You psychic powers, you always get smite. Horror and psychic scream will be some good ones to have. If you want to take out psychic scream and put catalyst on, that way you have a buffing, a debuffing, and a damage one. That's also an option. Toxin sacks and adrenal glands to just boost up your charge and boost up your damage potentially. One key stratagem you're going to look at using is Voracious Appetite, reroll filled wound rolls. This one, for me in the Warlord battle, will be the stratagem I'm doing. However, in the normal game, you might be able to, because you're Leviathan, take advantage of war on all fronts. So you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1, which is going to be pretty much all of your failed dice, barring some 2s on the wounds maybe. But that it won't work in the Warlord battle because obviously you need a ground unit and a flying unit in order to make that work. The Warlord trait, perfectly adapted, is the Leviathan specific one. This gives you 1 free reroll of a charge roll, a weapon skill, or a close combat swing, a wound roll. I don't know why I call that. A hit roll, a wound roll, for shooting, a saving throw, anything like that. Just something that can, give you 1 extra reroll throughout the game. Maybe it's on an invuln save if you need to. Just that. How it works, very simple. Get your opponent down to 1 or 2 wounds, and then you can use the Slayer Sabers special rule to kill them. If you're not sure what that is, or you need a reminder, that is, if you wound a model with the Slayer Sabers and you don't kill it, you roll a D3. If the result of that D3 is higher than the amount of wounds they have left, you just outright kill the model. So if you can get a Warlord down to 6 wounds down to 2 wounds, which a lot of HQs are going to have somewhere between 5 and 10 wounds. So on a damage 4 to 5 weapon, you should be able to get them down to that 1 to 3 just with a single hit. Slayer Sabers kicks in, and then you kill them. This one's not my favorite, but if you want to take advantage of that unique relic, then that's awesome. Number 2. This one, you've seen a very similar version if you looked at a Tyranid power combos video. This one is identical, however, we gave the Hive Tyrant a Warlord trait in addition to make it a damage 9 Behemoth Hive Tyrant and not a damage 8 Behemoth Hive Tyrant. So, if you're not familiar with this one, you take a Hive Tyrant with Lash Whip Bone Sword. Your second weapon is a shooting weapon of your choice. Probably Death Spitters or Venom Cannon. You take the relic Reaper of Obliterax. This is double damage on 6 pluses to wound. The adaptive physiology, Murderous Size. Again, this stacks on top of relics. So now you are an extra damage, strength, and AP on your Reaper of Obliterax. Psychic power, the key one here, the rest of them don't matter, but Unstoppable Hunger is key to get +1 to wound. Toxin sacks, again, +1 damage, so 6 pluses do another damage on top of that. You can also take adrenal glands in here. I mean, I would recommend it, I just didn't put it in here. Voracious Appetite is going to be your friend, giving you as many chances to roll 5s and 6s on the wound roll. A Warlord trait, this is the addition. Monstrous Hunger, wound rolls of 6+ equal another damage. So when you do all those additions, you got your Bone Swords at D3 damage, damage 3, Murder Size makes them damage 4. That's the base damage on them. You cast Unstoppable Hunger, so now they can get their exploding wound damage on 5s and 6s. So if a 5 or 6 is rolled, the Reaper and Toxins and the Warlord trait all come into effect, and in 40k 9th edition you multiply then add, so you're looking at 6 damage, so damage 3 times 2 is 6, +1 for Lord, +1 for Murderous Size, +1 for Toxin Sacs. That is 9 damage per wound of a 5 or 6 at AP -3. That is enough to just walk up to almost any Warlord you're going to go up against. Even, I believe, a Death Guard souped up Demon Prince that has -1 damage, that is enough to chop it down in one swing. This one is fun. This one will hurt a lot. If you guys have used this, let me know if you've gotten any of these big damage 9 swings out. It's a beefy one. Now to a more unique one. This one was kind of fun to design up. This is a Hydra's regenning Hive Tyrant. So what you want is a Hive Tyrant with ideally 2 sets of Scything Talons just to get as many attacks as possible. The relic, I went for Yumgarl Factor. I know it's not the most competitive one out there, but again, this is for getting as many attacks as possible out there and doing damage, I guess, or giving you extra strength or toughness, anything for a little bit of survivability. Your adaptive physiology is accelerated digestion. So that is where if you kill a model, you get a wound back, and it's up to 3 wounds per fight phase. In the Warlord Battles, for me, it's not going to matter because I'll kill 1 model only. But in the regular games, he can kill 3 models, he can get 3 wounds back from that. Psychic Powers Catalyst, again for ignoring damage, perfect. The Horror for maybe some survivability in those Warlord Battles, and Smite, some added mortal wound damage. Toxin Sacs and Adrenal Glands, I think, is an auto include on Hive Tyrants. It's not that many points in the grand scheme of things, so I think it's worth it. Rapid Regen might be one if you need to, just buff up that total regen potential. It's 2 command points, so it's rough, and you heal D3 wounds with it, so it's not great, but it's okay. And then the Warlord trait, which makes this thing really fun, Endless Regeneration. So you roll a d6 for each lost wound at the start of your turn or the command phase, and on a 6+, you heal. So if your Hive Tyrant is down to 2 wounds, you roll 10 dice, and every 6+ you get a wound back. You might spike it and get a ton of wounds back. You might get 1, you might get 2, you might get none. But if you combine that healing, D3 wounds, because technically I don't think it's called Rapid Regen. Anyway, you'll know which one I'm talking about. Rapid Regen is at the start of the movement phase, so you can use that after you use the Endless Regeneration. And then in combat, you could get another 3 wounds back, potentially. So it's all about regen. You want a number of attacks for multiple number of regenning purposes in the game. And if you're playing this in the normal game, you might go after, he would be perfect to go after Space Marines with, because every Space Marine is a Space Marine Intercessor, or even a Blade Guard vet or something in Gravis armor is an easy kill for him. So that's what I would target with those ones. I like it. I don't know how good it is, but if you're playing Hydra and you want something really beefy, try this one out. Now we have another one that was fun to design, and it is a high fleet. I will admit, I don't remember the last time I've played it. I need to use it for you guys to see on the channel. Before 9th edition Codex comes around, I'd like to at least showcase every Hive fleet once, and this is one of them I still need to showcase. So, Gorgon's Mortal Wound Hive Tyrant. So this one is specific on mortal wounds in all phases. So what you need is a Gorgon Hive Tyrant with monstrous rending claws. I went with, they're cheaper, and you need the 2 death spitters with brain leech worms. The death spitters, the strength 7 AP -1, 6-shot one. You take a relic, which is Xenogenic Acid, which is wound rolls of a 5+, deal a mortal wound in addition. Adaptive Physiology, you're going to take Voracious Ammunition, which is if you damage something in the shooting phase, You get to do D3 mortal wounds to it, only to one unit. You can't split your shots everywhere and do multiple. But for one unit you damage in the shooting phase, D3 mortal wounds are taken after the shooting phase is resolved. Then for your psychic powers, Catalyst and the Horror, and obviously you will have Smite in there as well. Toxic Adrenal Glands, again, I don't need to say much more with that. Stratagem, there's two of them here. No, there's only one, sorry. The one is Implant Attack, which is at the end of the combat phase. If you have a model you fought against and it's still alive, but you damaged it, a 2+ to deal a mortal wound at the end of the fight phase. The Warlord trait is Lethal Miasma. This is the Gorgon specific one, and that is at the end of the fight phase, every enemy unit within engagement range of the Hive Tyrant, on a 4+, they take a mortal wound. So this is just looking at sheer number of mortal wounds. You can do D3 mortal wounds in the shooting phase. You can do D3 mortal wounds in the psychic phase with Smite. With the Monster's Rending Claws and Xenogenic Acid pairing together, every wound roll of a 5+ deals a mortal wound. So you're looking at, because Monster's Rending Claws have a natural built-in reroll fail wound rolls, that's going to give you a chance to get a few more extra mortal wounds there. So maybe you'll get 1 or 2 mortal wounds there. So you're looking at 2d3 plus 2. Then with 1 command point, you're going to do another mortal wound for Implant Attack. And with Lethal Miasma, you're going to do another mortal wound. So that's plus 4. So 7 mortal wounds to potentially 1 target throughout the turn. You could roll high and do up to 10, 11 mortal wounds to a single target. It's fun. I think there's a chance, but again, this is very specific character assassination right here. He's going to find a target that's got an obnoxious info save and just mortal wound it to death. That's the plan. Finally, we have another mortal wound threat. This is a Kraken ranged threat, which I know sounds a little weird because Kraken is typically combat and speed, but hear me out here. I like this. This is one of my favorite ones, if not my favorite one. So there's 2 versions, minor change up. It just depends on which relic you take. So what you do is you take a Hive Tyrant with 2 Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots. You want 2 sets of those, so technically 4 Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots. Anyway, that gets you the 12 shots at strength 7, AP -1. Your choice of relic, if you do Chameleonic Mutation, then you have to play this as Kraken, which is the -1 to hit, -1 to hit the Hive Tyrant at range. So nice, because you're going to want to stay at range with this Hive Tyrant. Or you could play this. You could play this in Jormungandr if you want. This could be your Jormungandr one. You take the Resonance Barb, and that is +1 to cast Psychic Powers, and you get to cast an extra Psychic Power. Your Adaptive Physiology is Voracious Ammunition, which we just covered. So D3 mortal wounds in the shooting phase, check. Now for your Psychic Powers, you will cast Smite for another D3 mortal wounds. You'll cast Psychic Scream for another D3 mortal wounds. And because you can cast an extra one, Catalyst for some added durability. Toxin Sacs and Adrenal Glands in this case are optional. You might not want to include them if you're just looking to save points, because that is what 10 points you save by not taking them. And you don't want this thing in combat because it hits like a paper bag in combat. The stratagem that you might want to look at using is Pathogenic Slime, which is +1 damage. So all those strength 7 AP 1 shots become 2 damage, which could be good. The Warlord trait, there wasn't one key one that I thought would be perfect, but Heightened Senses might be the one you look at, which is you never take penalties to hit rolls. So you can advance with your Hive Tyrant and still shoot at your normal ballistic skill. There's no advance and take -1. So I think that'll add to the mobility the Hive Tyrant has. I think it'll work. So again, how it works, you get 2d3 mortal wounds in the psychic phase. You got 12 shots at strength 7, AP -1, 1 or 2 damage depending on your strat, and another potential d3 mortal wounds. So that's 3d3 mortal wounds plus the shooting damage. You can choose to be -1 to hit to help with the durability, or you can choose +1 to your psychic test. What do you guys think? I'm torn on which one is better here. I love the Resonance Barb, but Chameleonic Mutation is also probably one of the only other competitive relics that you could take. I don't know, I'm torn. I might go with the Resonance Barb just to guarantee I'm getting that psychic damage out. Otherwise, without the psychic damage on this one, he's not as good as some of the others. But that's that one. Finally, you've seen this Hive Tyrant before if you've watched all of our videos. Behemoth Scythes of Tyranid. This is probably, just in terms of sheer damage, the most insane Hive Tyrant build we can come up with as a Tyranid hive mind. So what you need is a Behemoth Hive Tyrant with Scything Talent and a ranged weapon of your choice. You need the relic size of Tyranid. You need Murderous Size. Psychic powers, Smite, Catalyst, Unstoppable Hunger is key in this one. Toxin Sacs and Adrenal Glands, of course. This is a combat Hive Tyrant. The stratagem, Voracious Appetite, reroll failed wound rolls. Warlord trait, Monstrous Hunger, wound rolls of 6+ are an extra damage. And how this one works, very similar to the other Behemoth Hive Tyrant. You have 5 attacks, 6s gain an extra hit. You don't reroll 1s to hit, unfortunately, but 6s gain you an extra hit, which you do have to roll 4. So the potential is there. You could use a command point reroll and just reroll a 1 if you got it, if you need the damage. So damage 4 flat, but on a roll, if you get Monstrous Hunger off, on a roll of 5 or 6, these things become damage 6 Scything Talons. And unlike the other Behemoth one where you only have 4 attacks that you're rocking, this one you have 5, potentially 6, 7. I mean, you could theoretically, if you roll a perfect roll, you could have up to 10 attacks. Not likely. You're looking maybe at 5 or 6 attacks, so still 2 extra attacks. They're all likely to be 5, 6 damage, but still 4 or 6 damage. And with the psychic power, that allows you to roll toughness or wound toughness 7 on 2s and toughness 8 on 3s, because unlike the other Behemoth Hive Tyrant being only strength 7, this one is strength 8. You can wound toughness 4, 5, 6, 7 with the psychic power on 2s. Without the psychic power, still on 2s you're wounding on 2s. The rerolls might not even be needed. But this one I think is the most consistent, and I would say the most competitive to throw in your army. Again, you lack the ability to throw a adaptive physiology on the rest of your army because you are using a warlord trait and an adaptive physiology on this one model. Take out the warlord trait, he's still damage 5 on 6s. Yeah, he's still damage 5 on 6s, which is good. But that's it. So those are the Hive Tyrants that I've come up with. There's 6 of them. You can argue that there's 1 for every Hive fleet if you just play the last Kraken one as a Jormungandr and change the relic out. So there you go, guys. I did it all. Which one do you like? This video, I know this was a pretty short video. I wanted to get it out there. I want to know. I'm going to use one of these at the mission or the fight night when I go to it next, probably in a week or 2. I'm leaning towards the Kraken one. I like the Gorgon one a lot too. However, the problem is Gorgon as a whole in a high fleet, I don't like nearly as much as Kraken. So the trade-off, you can take the Kraken one or the Hydra one, but then you have to play Kraken and Hydra and Gorgon as the rest of your high fleet, which is why I'm leaning towards the Kraken one or the Behemoth one. I guess I didn't include a Kronos. Huh, totally forgot about Kronos. You could do some cool psychic shenanigans with Kronos, make like a really anti-Grey Knight or anti-Psyker Hive Tyrant there. And ideally, I mean, you could stand still and be a standing still Hive Tyrant and shooting, but that's not fun for your Hive Tyrant. You want to be smashing things up and doing psychic powers and all those things. So apologies on the total lack of a Chronos one. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you like this content, please like and subscribe for more of it. We're getting oh so close to 1,000 subscribers. We're just over 100 away, which for a small channel like us is a lot, but also you guys have been very supportive and we are growing subscribers every day. We love it. We want to grow this community and we're working on ways in the behind the scenes on how to keep growing the channel even more beyond just making video content. That's enough rambling for me. Again, thank you guys for watching and we'll catch you next time on Maelstrom Gaming Studios.